Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're all doing well. Um, Doug, was there anything you wanted to hit before we dive in today?
Um, I don't think so. Enjoying the session so far, and looking forward to today's and the future ones. I appreciate everybody's attendance and engagement, and just hope that it continues. These are really good sessions. I've heard from some folks about some of the things that they've benefited from. So hopefully
Good.
everybody's getting a lot out of it, and let's forge forward.
Nice. Awesome. Good deal. Let me do something really quick. It looked like there was one other person that dove in. I think we're good. I think we're good. I think we're good. All righty. Well, welcome everybody. Welcome back to our series. There's John. Sorry. Hang on. Again, my name's Scott Paris, Ames facilitator. Really excited to walk through the training today. Just a couple of things before we get going. First, as we always do, if you would, go ahead and open up your chat function, if you would, and set your chat function to everyone. And then once you do that, if you don't mind, just type in Thursday touches Friday. Hello, I can hear you. I'm telling you, Danielle, it is so almost the weekend. Nice. Good to see you. Good to check in with everybody. Hope you're all doing great. Good. Back again. Obviously, hi. The reason that I do that is for two reasons. One is just to make sure everybody can hear, but the other is, as you know, we've got a big crowd. And so that's one way to connect as we go through. So please, as we go through, I'll say, hey, if you want to put that in the chat function, that would be awesome. So that's one way to stay connected. The other way to stay connected, of course, as we go through, you can always come off mute. The one thing that I would ask if you do that is just make sure you come off mute and say, hey, this is Roberta. Hey, this is Ronald. Just so you know what's going on and we know who's talking. So there's that. The other thing I wanted to share with you is, and maybe Carlos, welcome, Carlos. There's Carlos. You may have in front of you, just so we've got some clarification, two different participant guides. The first one's the communication one, which we did last week. We didn't quite get finished with that. So we will finish that first. And then the second one, hopefully you pulled up from Doug, and it's the Your Role one. The Your Role one, we will start this week, and we will finish it the next time we get together, which I believe is in 2 weeks. Okay, it's a really good kind of a really good fundamental piece that we'll go through. So again, you'll have the communicating book, the Your Role book, but we're actually going to start in the communication book. The other thing I wanted to mention is, as we've done this in the past, I will try to put you in groups from time to time just to make sure. Sometimes it's nice to share ideas with other folks. And so I'll put you in groups of 2 or 3 like we have in the past. And hopefully that's been fun as well. Okay. So I think, wow, we have a massive group. That's good.
Scott,
yes.
real quick, I did have one other thing. I know that there's times people have to miss. They were on vacation or
Yes.
they're out of the office or tied up with a customer. Just so you're aware, we changed the first week we sent out. It was a YouTube link that was an unlisted link, but we wanted to change the way we're doing that for security purposes. So it's actually going to be going through the AIM learning management system. So last week's, there was a person or two that had to miss last week. We don't have that link yet, but Matt from AIM is working with his team internally. They're going to get that posted on their internal private area learning management system where only we can see it, and I'll have the link. When I get that link for last week, I will share it with those who were not able to make it last week. And same for this week. It'll be that way going forward. So be patient. I will get those out. We're just got to work through a few kinks since it's a little bit different way than we normally do it.
Got it.
Okay,
Awesome. Thanks, Doug.
thank
Yeah,
you.
good deal. Okay. So I think we are ready to roll. So again, I want to start with the communication piece. So what I'm going to do first is just review some of the things we talked about last week. First, second, we'll finish up the communication piece today. And then third, we will start on your role and we will finish that next time. Okay. Hopefully that works. So if you would, if you haven't already, please pull out the communication for leadership success. The first page, I believe, is 2-1, if that's correct. So I want to just hit a couple of the pages in the communication section. I want to start with, if you would, can you do this for me? Go to 2-4. 2-4 looks like this. Can somebody in the chat function say, yeah, that's what I got? Can somebody just say, yep? Good. Okay. So if you remember last time we talked about this simple communication model. So Evan Pope and I are communicating back and forth, right? He communicates with me, I encode, decode, and then I send it back to Evan. And it could be face-to-face, could be phone, could be email. And we talked about at the bottom of that page, the first two bullets were what can go wrong, different types of noise. What are some examples of what can get in the way? What noise can get in the way of us communicating effectively? What are a couple of things you've got on 2-4? If you throw that in the chat function, that'd be awesome. What were some noise things that you said could get in the way of you communicating with someone else? Good. Jennifer says tone and emotion. Awesome. Anybody else? Bias. Bias could be all different kinds of bias for all different kinds of reason. Yep. Thanks, Danielle. Body language. I look and I realize that Evan would rather stick a needle in his eye than talk to me based on nonverbals, right? Carlos has got eye contact. Anne Marie's got stern tone, facial expression. Roberta, unrelated stressors. Donna, that's a good one. Comfort level. I'm not really comfortable talking to you, or there's, maybe it's different titles, something like that. Prior negative interactions. Thank you. Yeah, perfect. Just wanted to share that. Remember, you've got those noises, those things, other priorities, Fong. Excellent. Things that get in the way. So I wanted to point that out. Again, all we're doing right now is we're just reviewing some of those things that we talked about last time. That was 2-4. And then if you would go to 2-7, on 2-7 at the top, you should have, I think I went too far. You should have the fuzzy words activity. And if you remember, if you weren't here last time, these are words, let me let Jay in here a minute. These are words that we use, and they can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. And what I had you do is take each of those words, and if you said that word, what percentage chance is it going to happen? So in other words, an example would be always. If somebody were to ask me, how often do we work until 5:30, hypothetically? We always do. Does that mean 100% of the time we work till 5:30? Does that mean 90% of the time we work till 9:30? And so I had you do that. So first thing, I'm just going to pick two. Top of the right, seldom. If you say it seldom happens, what percent chance did you write down for seldom? If you throw that in the chat function for me. Oh, I see 3 20s in a row. 10, 5 to, so I've got 5 to 20 so far. I got 5 to 30 so far. Excellent. Good. 5 I still got 5 to 30. Okay. Excellent. Good. Okay. So that's 5 to 30. Okay. The other one I want to hit. Can we do the very last one quite often? Quite often. For the quite often, what did you put? I've got 75 to 80. I've got 75 to 90. Yeah, I got 75 to 90. Okay. I don't see anything lower than that. Okay. Good. Remember, so the takeaway, 75, still got 75 to 90. The takeaway for the fuzzy words were, if I use one of these words, I want to clarify or I want to define what that words mean, because I want to be really, really clear about what I'm saying to folks that report to me. It's funny. It's one of the most popular activities we kind of do in the communication, but it also, it's kind of one of those profound things. How about that? Okay. Top 2.7. What else? Look at 2.8. 2.8 is, voice strength. And remember, we talked about with voice strength, it could be volume, speed, inflection, crutch words. So volume is I'm too loud. Speed, I'm a fast talker. Inflection is you punch a word. And then crutch words are like, yeah, like those sorts of things. Do me a favor, if you would throw in the chat function, which of those four, I had each of you put a star next to one that you kind of wrestle with sometimes when it comes to work and voice strength. What did you pick? If you would throw that in the chat function. Okay. I see a little bit of everything. So far I get volume, speed, inflection. Okay. Good. Somewhere in at least the first year, I'm not seeing a lot of crutch words. Okay. Remember, the key with the voice strength piece is we just don't want anything to get in the way of our message, right? So if it's volume, one of the things I believe I suggested last time we met is maybe you need to take a lap. Maybe you need to take a step away, calm down, so that the person receiving the message can receive the message, right? With speed, just slowing down. And I don't know if you remember this from last time, but if you're looking at me on camera right now, you can use your hands as braking mechanisms. So if you slow down your hands, you tend to slow down how you're talking. Actually, look at your hands and slow down. Okay, so we talked about that voice strength. If you go to 2.9, 2.9 was nonverbals. Remember nonverbals? So we talked about that a little bit. We talked about facial expressions. We talked about using gestures, all those different things. As you look at 2.9, what was one of those nonverbals that you really have to watch? If you throw that in the chat function for me. If you were going to pick one of those nonverbals you've really got to watch, what would you pick? What do you got? So far, it's 100% facial expressions. Wow. Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. Anybody keep going? Anybody else? I think with facial, man, several, everybody, remember with facial expressions, it's some solid facial expressions, eye contact. And to me, eye contact is looking at people without boring a hole in their soul, right? So I look away, it's nodding. I find that when I nod, when I talk, people nod as well, and it creates this connection. It's smiling, but not inappropriately or smirking or any of that kind of crazy stuff. It's just smiling. It's being pleasant. Okay. But again, nonverbals. Let me ask you this. Can you throw this in the chat? Why do nonverbals as a leader, why do nonverbals matter so much? Why do having solid nonverbals matter so much? Why do having solid nonverbals matter so much? What do you think? If you throw that in the chat, what do you think? Why do they matter so much? Ruh-roh. Why did, okay, can confuse message, thanks down, gains trust and respect. Good. Influence the staff. Excellent. There we go. Can support your communication or undermine it. Danielle, that's a really good point. They feed off your energy. Shows you're engaged, interested. Thanks, Doug. Sends messages that you're listening. All of those are true. Nonverbals keeps the communication highway open. I like that. Yeah. So I think being conscious of that really, really matters. So we talked about that. 210 was traits of a good listener. And then I believe the last thing we talked about was 212, and it was listening habits. Is that where we stopped, was 212? We didn't get to, we stopped at 212 was our last page, yes? Okay, perfect. So a couple of other things that I want to hit you with in this section, continuing. So that was just a quick review. If you would look at 213, 213 has listening turnoffs. Where did we get to? Right here. Listening turnoffs. So if you look at 213, I'm going to ask you to do this for me on 213. Go down that list of 14 things and put a check next to any of those that when other people do it to you, it drives you to the brink of insanity. Okay. You're just going down the left-hand side. There's 14 on that page. Put a check or an X next to any of those things that drive you to the brink of insanity. You check as many as you want. Okay. And I'm going to go quiet just for a second. We'll come back and talk about it. I had you do was check any of those items on page 213 that when other folks do it to you, it drives you to the brink of insanity. I'm going to ask you to do this for me. Count up your checks, and in the chat function, how many of those 14 really drives you to the brink of insanity? How many did you, wow, there we go. Seeing somewhere between 5 and 12. Wow. Okay, fair enough. Just a couple. I'm seeing 2 to 12. Awesome. Awesome. Okay. So that was the first step. Second step, I had you check those that drive you to the brink of insanity. Now I'm going to have you reread those 14. Which of those have you been rightly accused of doing at work? Which of those, when it comes to you and listening, do you really have to watch? Maybe let's do this. Since you checked it the first time, circle any of those on 213 that you say to yourself, wow, I got to watch that. I know I do that. This is at work, not at home. Remember, home's a different class. Circle any of those that drive you, or I'm sorry, that you have. Oh, circle any of those. And I'm going to go silent just for a second. We're doing right now. We're going back through page 213 and circling any of those that we say to ourselves, yeah, I know I do that. I do it pretty regularly. Just giving you a few more minutes. Take your time. It's all good. Any of those that you know you do. Okay. And then once you do that, anybody willing to share one of those on 213 that you just say to yourself, you know, I really need to watch that. And if you wouldn't mind leading with, hey, this is Carlos. Hey, this is Anne Marie. Anybody willing to share one that you really struggle with on 213?
This is Chris.
Hey, Chris.
Frequently looks, I don't know about my watch, but my phone. I gotta work on that one.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, it's funny. The first time, you know, for so long, you didn't get messages by watch. And the first time somebody looked at their watch, I'm like, oh, they must be done with me. And they were actually checking messages. So yeah, that's a good one. Anybody else? Thank you. Thanks so much, Chris. Anybody else? One of those on that page you really got to watch.
This is Roberta, and yes, I do something else while I'm talking to other people.
Oh, like multitasking.
Yeah.
Got it. Got it. Fair enough. Yeah. Anybody else? Thank you. Thanks so much, Roberta.
This is Kyle.
Hey, Kyle.
I tend to fake attention sometimes. Like I know I'll be in a conversation and you'll be telling me one thing and I'll be thinking about 20 other things that are going on in my life. And then we get to the conversation and I'm like, I don't even know what you just told me.
It's, you know, it's so easy, especially as busy as I know all of you are. The cartoon bubble above your head is if they would just stop talking, I could move on to my list or I could solve their problem. Yeah, I mean, we've all been there. I'm looking for one more. Anybody else?
This is Anthony at Container Supply.
I'm sorry, who's
Anthony at Container Supply. And number two, won't look at me when I talk.
Yeah.
I need to work on my eye contact when people are talking to me. I'm talking to someone else.
Gotcha. Thanks, Anthony. Great point. You know what I find really interesting about 213? Some of the things that drive us to the brink of insanity when other people do it are things that we have to watch ourselves. Now, I'm not by any means saying that any of us are perfect. But it's just things that we really want to watch. You know, I had a boss named Larry, and if you look at number 14, he had this habit of he had readers and he would look over his readers and he would just stare at people. And we thought he was angry all the time. And finally, at one point, somebody said, you know, Larry, when you meet with people, you just look like you're angry. And he said, I just really, really have to concentrate when I talk to people. And he said, so, but I really appreciate the feedback. So just some things to keep in mind when you communicate with your teams individually, as a team overall. Good stuff on 213. Okay. Let's go to 214. I want to just spend a little bit of time. The last part of the communication is talking about meetings, running effective meetings with your team, those sorts of things. If you look at 214, right below the picture, it says defining a meeting. Meetings and interaction between two or more people designed to accomplish a specific outcome, series of action steps, activities. I'm going to do this. I'm going to put you in twos or threes. It says at the bottom of that page, what gives meetings a bad name? I'm going to do it a little bit differently. Maybe you cross through that and put this. What do you have to have that makes a great meeting? What do you have to have that makes a great meeting? I'm actually going to have you do two things with your 2 or 3 people. On 214 at the bottom, what are some things that makes for a great meeting? And then on 215, really simple meeting quiz. I'm going to have you with your 2 or 3 take that. Okay. And then we'll come back and talk about both pages. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to put you in breakout rooms of, let's see, what can we do here? There we go. And get you, there we go. It's going to be 2 to 3. So I'm going to send you away. Again, we're doing page 214. And again, those are good things you need for a meeting. And then 215, if you take the quiz together, and then we'll talk about it. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and send you to your teams, give you a few minutes, give you maybe 4 minutes, and then we'll come back. Thanks, everybody. Welcome back, everyone. So again, what I was having you do is work on 214 at the bottom, but instead of what gives meetings a bad name, what do you need for a successful meeting? And then 215, which was the really simple quiz. Okay. So let's start with 214. Anybody willing to share what were some things that you put down on the bottom of 214? If somebody doesn't mind coming off mute, what were some things you came up with?
I'll do ours.
Yeah. Who is this?
This is Anthony.
Hey,
out of
Anthony.
RTP. How are you?
Good.
So we had, excuse me, we had 4 bullets. First, organization.
Okay.
Define scope. Define expectations of the meeting, and staying on point during the meeting.
Nice. Defined expectations, defined scope, staying on point. And what was the first? And what was
Organization.
Good.
Having an organized meeting.
Good. Thank you. Those are excellent. Big 4. Anybody else? Anybody else wanted to share your team's bullets?
This is Danielle. I'm happy to share ours. So we said we wanted a clear agenda in advance. We appreciate when there is a true leader or facilitator of the meetings, especially in a digital world, someone that's running and keeping everyone on track and organized. And then also the right audience and attendees with us in the meeting. We want to make sure that we're all aligned and we're all there to support the outcomes of the intended meeting.
Nice. So to add to your list, agenda, somebody running the meeting. And then what was the last one again? I'm sorry.
Having the right audience to support the intended outcome of the call.
You know, nothing worse than getting on a meeting and somebody says, well, where's Jay? And Jay's the only one that really has that information. So making sure you've got the right folks, I think that's a great point. The only thing I would add to that, because I think it's kind of in the same place that you were talking about, is, you know, and maybe it's the facilitator, but having somebody to take notes as needed. Great. Anybody else? Any of the other teams, what did you come up with different from that? Pretty straightforward. I have a follow-up question, and I didn't ask you, but I'm curious, how long a meeting, what's the longest a meeting would last? And we're doing this as a vote, so if you throw it in the chat, what's the longest a meeting should take? 1 hour. I'm getting the standard 1 hour. Okay. Huh. 30 minutes to an hour, Donna. 15, because it's like 15 minutes. 15 minutes. Okay. 45. I tell you what, I was working with a client. It's been a while ago. And they said, Scott, every Wednesday we have a 4-hour meeting. And I'm like, a 4-hour meeting? I said, does that not drive you to the brink? And he said, it drives me to the brink. I would agree. And one of the things I'm a big fan of, and I don't know if you all do it, if you're familiar with huddles, you know, getting with your team really, really quickly. So you can kind of, I like to use, and you may want to write, huddles are, you know, 15 minutes or less where you're just connecting. And huddles are great because it's what I call past, present, future. You know, if you do a huddle every Monday, here's what we accomplished last week. Boom, boom, boom. Here's where we're at today. This is where we want to be by Friday. And it works really, really, really well. Okay. So that's 214. And then let's go to 215. 215. And I'm just going to walk through these. And then you tell me what you think. I'll just kind of go through the key together. Question number 1, when should a meeting be called? My best answer on that one is B. Okay. When a meeting is the best way to achieve your objective. Okay. That's B. 2, at a minimum, an upcoming meeting announcement agenda should include, you know, I really like time, place, and purpose. Yeah. Yeah. Some people really like B though. Some people really like B. They like food. You know, my pushback on that one, I love food. I'm a huge fan of food. But is it going to get in the way? Okay. 2, number 3, meetings are to start only when, that's a B. That's a B. The only caveat I would go with 3, for example, typically when I do webcasts as an example, I will, and we haven't really been doing it with this group as much, but occasionally what I'll do is so we were supposed to start at 1 p.m. Central. I'll announce 1 p.m. and then I'll give it a 2-minute warning because I know people are struggling to get on. But by the same, you know, we want to be conscious of people's time, right? So I would go B on number 3. 4, how can you keep your meetings from running long? To me, B is set a time limit, get commitment from everyone and stick to it. I have a client in San Diego that I work with, and their 1-hour meetings are 1 hour and 15. And honestly, I don't know how they do it because I keep thinking everything's going to bleed into the next thing. Just remember, you know, that can really be hard. It can really be frustrating. So for me, 4 is B. Number 5, I am going to ask what you came up with. Can you throw in the chat function? What was your, how can you evaluate the effectiveness of your meetings? What did you, oh, okay. A is a good answer. A is a good answer. Believe it or not, the given curriculum answer is D. And a couple of you had D. written evaluations, some people get really, Jay's like, I don't like any of them, but eight's pretty good. I think part of the effectiveness is, I think a really good answer for 5 is everybody walking out the door clear about who owns what? So that we can accomplish what we set to accomplish. Hopefully that's helpful. Okay. So it's just kind of a fun activity. 2:15. 2:14 were good things. 2:15 is meeting. Behind that, just some best practices. If you want to follow along with me. 2:16, the first one we've got is prepare an agenda in advance. Do you, if does that agenda in your mind, and you can give me a yay or a nay, does an agenda for a meeting, does it need to include who's talking about what? Or can it just be topics in general? Does it need to be timed by topic? Or can it be a little more general than that? What do you think? So let's go. Yes, I want it to be, okay, there we go. General, maybe general or specific. Okay. Ooh, Donna likes time by topic. Okay. Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. Anybody else? What do you think? Okay. I tend to like general, although there are times I've been in projects where I'm like, I need to be, you know what I mean? And I think it depends on what you're working on. Okay. But if nothing else, at least have an agenda. At least have an agenda and send it out in advance so people know what's coming. Nothing worse than walking into a meeting and all of a sudden somebody says, I need you to take care of that. I need you to speak to that. And you're thinking, I didn't even know we were talking about that. Okay. So that's 2:16. 2:17 is a very just a general agenda draft. But then at the bottom of 2:17, it talks about getting the right people to attend. One of the things that's in that tip at the bottom is limit the number of people, making the group in the meeting smaller. What's the benefit to that? What's the benefit of having a smaller group than a larger group when it comes to meetings? What's the benefit? And you can put that in chat or come off mute, whatever you think. Any benefit to having a little bit of a smaller, everybody gets heard, more effective, absolutely better collaboration. You can cover more. I had a friend that was sharing recently. He was doing meetings. They were really changing the direction they were going with the company. And I said, how are the meetings going? He said, they're awful. And I said, why? And he said, we have 50 people in the meetings. We can't get anything done. And so having the critical few that you have to have, I think really matters, right? Good. 2:17. Ooh, 2:18, ground rules for meetings. Ground rules for meetings. If you would in the chat function, so you're running a meeting. What are some of your ground rules for meetings, expectations, rules? What would be if you want to throw it in chat or come off mute? What do you got? Oh, here we go. Let's get a few of these down. Be on time. Be prepared. Cell phones off, laptops down. Good. Stay on topic. Good. Respect your peers' input. Oh man, you got some great stuff. Let's get some of these down. I've got be on time, be ready to go, cell phones off, laptops down, stay on topic, end on time, respect each other. We're going to stay relevant information, which I think is stay on topic. Set up a parking lot. I love that. I love that. Very underused. Let's take that offline and handle it. Set up parking lot. Do not talk. Figure out your technology ahead of time. I always, if I'm doing a Teams meeting, I'm on 30 minutes ahead, and then I go do other things and come back because I don't like tech issues. Okay, don't try to problem solve everything in the meeting. Yeah, fair enough. Good stuff. Anything else? What am I missing? That's a good list. That's a good list. I think one of the big ones is being respectful. Being respectful. I think the other thing is taking ownership. So Doug, you've got X and Danielle, you've got Y, kind of assigning things out of the back end of that meeting. Good, good. So just wanted to give you some ground rules. That's on 218. Let's see, what else do we have? Some of these you talked about, 219, making the time, arrive early if you're running it, start on time, end on time. Bottom at 219, using a parking lot. The thing about the parking lot is if you're taking notes, and these are things we can't get to in this meeting, before you leave the meeting, you want to assign those parking lot items to either yourself or whoever it needs to go to, right? So that's 219. What else? I think those are the big things I wanted to hit. Okay, and then 220, there's a kind of an accountability table. And the other one I really like, look at the bottom of 220, reasons for team meetings. Share company department info, solve problems, brainstorm ways to improve. Different reasons for effective meetings. Okay. So just kind of wanted to share those with you. Hey, Doug, do you mind coming off of mute? Anything in the meeting stuff that you would want to hammer home? Anything that I'm missing?
I think from a NOVVIA standpoint, one of the big things is staying on time. Having an agenda, staying on topic and staying on time, because I know and several of the folks on this meeting are in a lot of other meetings, and exactly what you said, a meeting scheduled for an hour. There's not much time in between, and that hour turns to an hour and 15 or hour and 20. And then the next meeting gets pushed back, and before you know it, it's 4:30 in the afternoon and your 3 o'clock meetings just start.
Yeah. So incredibly frustrating.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
All
I
right.
think too, just limiting the number of meetings. I mean, I know people are probably just bombarded with meetings, people on this call who are in, some days you come in and you're back-to-back meetings most of the day. It's hard to get anything done.
8. Okay, perfect. So what I'm going to do now, we're going to move from, where do we go? Where do we go? We're moving from communication to the your role stuff. Let me pull that up. I want to make sure everybody can see it. Are we there? Okay. Can you do me a favor, just in the chat function, just type in yes, I can see the deck, just so I'm good. Just want to make sure we're good. Awesome. 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 Okay. So we finished the communication part, and now we're moving into this your role piece. Great section. Hopefully you've got this printed out in front of you. And so a lot of great stuff in here. If you would, hopefully you've got that printed out. We start on 3-1 with this your role, just getting a sense of some fundamental key function pieces when it comes to management. On 3-1 at the bottom, though, there are some objectives, bottom of 3-1. I'm just going to ask you on 3-1, star anything on 3-1 that really speaks to you as a leader. Anything on there, and stars are free. You can star as many as you want. Anything on 3-1 that really speaks to you. Give you a couple of minutes, couple of seconds. Anything on 3-1 that really speaks to you. Anything on 3-1 All righty. So on 3.1, there are, again, looks like 6 objectives. Anybody willing to share one of the things on 3.1 that really speaks to you? What do you like? What do you like on the bottom of 3.1? What do you like? If you wouldn't mind coming off mute, what do you like on 3.1? Anything that really speaks to you? Who knew?
This is
where-
Kyle. Oh, go ahead.
I like link your organization's big picture with employees' day-to-day work, just because of all the acquisitions that are going on. I know when Ampec was acquired by NOVVIA, it was crucial to keep, everyone kind of on the same page and what's probably coming down the road. I think it made us more cohesive and it helped us feel not alienated,
Yeah, huge, huge. Thank you. And somebody else had something to say as well. I'm sorry.
Yeah, this is Kyle. I was basically going
Kyle.
to say the same thing, trying to explain basically the significance of, what every employee's day-to-day job is and how it affects the organization's big picture. It can be challenging at times, but I think at least at the company that we're in here right now, that's probably the most important part, it seems like.
Excellent. Anybody else have anything different beyond that one? Great point. Great point. Anything else on there that you really liked? Okay. Do me a favor if you would. Bottom of 3.1, can you put, I'm gonna have you do a quiz with your team in just a minute here. Bottom of the page, just put the number 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna put you back with your 2s or 3s, and I'm actually gonna have you discuss these 3 statements and tell me whether they're true or false. It's not in your material, so I'm gonna leave it up here. Number 1 is good supervisors are good leaders. 2, happy employees are productive employees. 3, you become a leader when you start acting like one. I'm going to give you 2 or 3 minutes, same groups as we had before. And if you would just discuss those 3 answers and we'll come back and chat about them. Okay. So let me back to our breaks. I'm going to go ahead and send you, and we'll come back in. How about 3? Okay. And we're just doing these 3. So your bottom of 3.1 is a place to put those things down. Okay. All righty. Thanks, everybody. Welcome back, everybody. So what I was having you do again, and if you just want to put the notes to, hopefully you put the answers to these 3 statements, and very discussional, just trying to get a take on these 3 questions. Had you work on that with your team? Let's kind of walk through these. Number 1, first statement is good supervisors are good leaders. True or false? If you were in the chat function, what'd you pick? I got mostly false. Well, I got 2 false. I got 8 false. Almost all false. Wow. Wow. Anybody willing to share why you felt like good supervisors are good leaders is false? Why did you feel that way? Anybody willing to share? We're just having a chat.
This is Roberta.
Hey, Roberta.
I guess a good supervisor isn't always motivating. A good leader is motivating.
Okay.
So I think there's a distinction there. You can be a good supervisor, but that doesn't mean that you can lead the whole crew.
Fair. Yeah. Good answer. Anybody else? Why did you say false? Thanks, Roberta. Anybody else? What do you think? Why did you have false for that one?
Hey, this is Danielle. We felt like supervisors are often more transactional in their interactions, right? They're overseeing
Interesting.
something, making sure the steps are completed. Whereas a leader might, be digging deeper and helping to develop more skills within someone to push them further along or higher up in an organization.
Okay. Fair. That's great. You know, I think a lot of what it depends on with number one is how you define both of those roles, right? How you define supervising versus leading. And so they could be, but it doesn't mean that they will, right? So I feel like it's fairly falseful, but we'll talk about it more as we go. That's number one. Number two, happy employees are productive employees. In the chat function, what'd you pick for number two? Happy employees are productive employees. So got a lot of falses. Man, I've got 100%. That's the first time I think that's ever happened. Okay. I got one true. Okay. So Evan, I want to start with you if you don't mind. What you would put true, what was it? Why did you put true for number two? Just curious.
Yeah, I generally just think if an employee is happier, they are going to be more motivated and possibly more connected with their leaders and want to do a better job.
Okay, fair enough. Absolutely. For those of you that said false, why'd you say false? Anybody willing to share why you said false? Uh-oh.
This is Kyle.
Hey, Kyle.
I mean, we've kind of all seen what happened with the whole work from home thing, not necessarily in this company, but with every company. And I'm pretty sure a lot of work from home employees are pretty happy, but they're most likely not the most productive at all the time. I mean, some people are, but I wouldn't say all of them, that's for sure.
Yeah. You know, the thing I think about number two is, for me, it's a definite maybe. And here's why I say this. I think to a point, happy employees become a little bit more productive if they're happy, if they feel comfortable, those sorts of things. But here's the other thing that I found. I had a boss long ago and far away named John, and he was one of the nicest people I ever met. And he spent all his day kind of connecting with people and making people are okay. He never got anything done. I kept trying to figure out why it was that it was taking him. He always left after everyone else. And I think part of it was he spent the whole day having fun, but not really doing some of the productive things he really wanted to do. And it always kind of got me. But that was John. I mean, loved him to death. Great guy. By the same token, I worked with a woman by the name of Marie. Started the job. We were in cubes. I go down a couple cubes from her. And I was there about 2 weeks, and she walked up to me and she said, I don't think I'm going to like you. And I said, why? And she said, you're really loud. And I don't like loud people. That's what she said to me. And a couple of days after that, she came up to me and she goes, where you been? And I said, well, I show up at 8:30. And she said, well, I show up at 6:30. So now I'm confused. So I go to my boss and I said, hey, listen, Robert, what time am I supposed to be here? And he goes, 8:30. And I said, well, Marie told me I should be here at 6:30. And he said, Marie gets a lot done, but she's mean. She really is mean. She wants people to do things the way she does them. She's not a lot of fun to be around particularly, but you know, she gets here early and she stays late. And I thought, sometimes happy employees are, but sometimes happy employees aren't. And sometimes productive employees aren't particularly happy. I mean, it just kind of depends, right? I think we've all been there. We've seen both sides. Okay. Number three sounds like something my mom would say to me. You become a leader when you start acting like one. What was your response to that one? If you throw it in the chat function for me. This one's a little more split. A little more split. I'm 50-50. Okay. Okay. Well, maybe it's pivoting to true. So for those of you that said true, you become a leader when you start acting like one. Why did you say true? Why did you say, anybody willing to share? Why did you say true?
Hi, this is Ronald.
Hey, how are you?
Yeah, fine. it's more like leading by example. That if you show how to do things, you can take the group, and because of you doing it, it becomes your natural habit. You become
Okay.
get used to it. Something that's more or less it.
Okay. Yeah. You set the tone. Good. Anybody else? Thanks, Ronald. Anybody else? You become a leader when you start acting like one? Let me ask you this. Can you throw this in the chat for me? Can you be a leader without the title? Can you lead without a title? Is that possible? Or do you have to, yeah, gotta have a title. But that was strong, yes. Yeah. You can lead without a title. Have you ever been around somebody with a title that was a flaming disaster as a leader? Me too. Me too. So I think it's action to me. It's action. I really do think so. The thing about these questions, it's just us thinking, trying to get our arms a little bit around leadership. One, it really depends on, again, how we define. Two, to a point, but not completely, right? And three, actions do matter. Okay. I want to do something on, so that's 3-1. Can you go to 3-2 for me? On 3-2, you should have something that looks, is it not? Oh, where'd it go? Am I missing a slide? Oh, God, it's missing. 3-2, you should have, I apologize, supervising, managing, leading. Do you all have that on 3-2? Can you just type in yay for me so I know I'm in the right spot? Missing a slide. Sorry about that. It shows supervising, managing, leading at the very top of the page. I'm going to ask you to write this above supervising, managing, leading at the very top. Write this. Action, not title. Action, not title. So what I mean by that is what I'm not saying is the title being a supervisor by title, or a supervisor, a manager by title, or a leader by title. It's the action. Okay. Then at the bottom of the page, at the very bottom, you've got a little bit of white space. Okay. I'm going to ask you in that white space at the bottom of 3-2, can you draw a box? Draw a box that's big enough to put someone who reports to you's name inside of it, but not so big that you can't write all the way around the box. Does that make sense? So you're drawing a box and then you're putting the name of somebody that reports to you inside the box, and then we're going to write some stuff around it. Interesting. Give you a minute. It doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't matter who it is. But somebody that reports to you or should report to you. Okay. I'll give you a couple minutes to think through that. Okay. So you've got the reason I had you put that name in the box is that box isn't a box, it's a chair. So that person sitting in the chair, just like you're sitting in a chair, just like I'm sitting in a chair. And I want you to think about the various roles that you have around that box. Actions, not titles, actions. Middle of 3-2. I'm going to start from the bottom and I'm going to move up. I'm going to talk about leading, managing, supervising. Remember, we're talking about the action. The bottom definition says leading, and it's guiding and influencing the behavior of others. So wherever it is you've got that box with that name, above the box, write the word leading. Above the box, write the word leading. So here's what I'm saying. My last corporate position, I had 6 folks who reported to me. Okay. I had Amanda was one person that reported to me. Amanda's sitting in the chair. The reason I have you put leading above the box is part of our role, regardless of title, is that we lead. The reason I have it above the box is sometimes my role is to get out in front of someone and lead. You look at my definition for leading, guiding, and influencing the behavior of others. So when I do that, I get out in front and I'm casting vision about where we're going. I talk about, Amanda, we were going this way and now we're going this way. We talk about change. So maybe on 3.2 under the definition of leading, put change. We handle change. We talk about where we're going as a team. Okay. Hopefully this is making sense. So I get out in front, I cast vision, we talk about change. I say things like, follow me, we're going to get through this. Okay. That's the action of leading, not the title, the action. That's first. Okay. Second one is managing. It says managing is accomplishing objectives through others. Your box that you've got with the name inside of it, below the box, write the word managing. I'm not saying the title manager, I'm saying managing. Managing is accomplishing objectives through others. So if I'm behind, remember I have Amanda. Managing by action is getting behind and pushing Amanda to get stuff done. So I'm doing things like, and maybe you put this under that managing definition, I set goals for Amanda and the team. I set objectives. I prioritize tasks. Okay. So I get behind so that we set goals going forward. Okay. Does that make sense? So leading's above. I'm getting out in front. I'm saying, Amanda, follow me, follow me. We were going this way. Now we're going this way. This is how we get stuff done. Managing, I'm pressing from behind. Hey, we've got numbers we've got to hit. These are goals I have for you. These are, Amanda, I know this was number one. That's not as important anymore. Okay. That's managing, the action of managing. Okay. Third one, top one is supervising, and it says monitoring and overseeing the work of others. On either side of the box, I'm going to have you write the word supervising. Doesn't matter which side. Okay. When I think of the action of supervising, I come alongside someone and help. It says monitoring and overseeing the work of others. Some examples you may want to write down there is coaching, training, encouraging, stuff like that. Explaining. Okay. So again, let me walk you through it real quick. You've got the box, person sitting in a chair. Above the box, right in front of the box is leading. I get out and hey, man, this is where we're going. This is where we're going. Change is happening. Follow me. Trust me. We're going. Okay. Managing. And remember, it's action, not title. Managing, I'm pressing from behind. Priorities, goals, that kind of stuff. Okay. Supervising's coming alongside. I'm coaching, I'm training, I'm encouraging, I'm motivating. Okay. 3 different pieces. And again, we're not talking about title. It's so easy to say, well, I'm a blab. We're talking about the action. I'm going to ask you to do me a favor on 3.2. If you could just do one of those 3, Scott, I'd rather just lead all day long. I'd rather just get out in front. The action of leading, that's my comfort. It's managing. I'd rather set goals. I'd rather supervising action. I'd rather come alongside. Put a star on 3.2 next to which one of those matters to you the most? Or which one would you prefer to do all day long is kind of the way I said, put a star next to it. Okay. And then once you do that, can you throw in S, M, or L in the chat function? I'd prefer to get out front and lead. I'd prefer to set goals, man, press from behind. I'd prefer to come alongside. Oh, a lot of L's, a lot of L's. Wow, I've never seen that in my entire life. We almost have all L's. Oh my goodness. I would rather cast vision, get out in front. Remember, we're talking action, not title. What do you like that? What do you like about that? What excites you about that? Why is that preferred? Anybody willing to share? Why do you like that one so much?
Hi, this is Nisha from
Hey,
Inmark Southern
Nisha.
Container. Hi. For me, I think it's driving results that would be for me. Like getting the results, like seeing the work that we put in, bring results to the business.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you. Creating change, making improvements. Danielle aligns with my desk. Fair enough. Okay, good. Of those three, getting out in front, remember, getting out in front, the action of leading, pressing from behind, managing, coming alongside. Which of the three is hardest for you? And again, think about the action based on the definitions on 3.2. Which of those three? So you're just you type into chat SML. Ooh, coming alongside, coming alongside. Remember, we're saying the definition of S is coming along, monitoring, overseeing, coming alongside. Okay. What is it about the S for the majority of you that makes that one so hard? What makes that one particularly difficult? Anybody willing to share? Time. That's a good one. That's fair. It does take a lot of time, Nisha. Anybody else?
Yeah, this is Brittany.
Hey, Brittany.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, time, being able to develop the time. There's so much that's going on every day, that the amount of tasks. So being able to oversee them is really time consuming.
The biggest takeaway, thank you so much. The biggest takeaway I want you to think about on 3.2 is, regardless of title, all three of those aspects from an action standpoint are really, really important. Getting out front, casting vision, coming alongside and helping, pressing from behind. Okay. If you would go to 3.3, on 3.3, you should have something that looks like this, hopefully. Just know that on this page, there are components of getting out in front, coming alongside, pushing from behind for all of these pieces. So what this pie represents are different things that you're responsible for. I want to start with this. I'm going to ask you individually to go around the list and put a check next to any of those that in your role right now, you're responsible for. Yes, I'm responsible for work production. Yes, I'm responsible on some level, on any level. Just put a check. You're just going around 3.3. Okay. Next step. Usually when I do this and I go around those pieces, I'll have people say to me, this is fine, but this isn't everything I'm responsible for. So I'm going to ask you to add on 3.3. You got white space all the way around, maybe at the bottom of 3.3. If you were going to add extra pieces to your responsibility, let me give you a few, and I'm looking for anything you would add. Let me give you a couple right off the top of my head. Are you responsible for putting out fires at work? I don't mean like literal fires, but there's like chaos at work. Under the wheel, under the pie, can you put putting out fires? Can you put hiring employees? Okay. That's a couple that jump out at me. Putting out fires, hiring employees. Anything else as you look at the wheel on 3.3, you say to yourself, I do this and it's not making the wheel. Anything you would add? Is there a pie piece that you spend a lot of time on and you just see it's not there? Okay. That's a great one, Danielle. Let's put that at the bottom of the page as well. Responsible for figuring out ways to build revenue, growing revenue. Anybody else? It's good. Okay, so here's what I'm going to ask you to do. You've got the puzzle pieces or the pie pieces on 3.3 plus 3 we added. Ooh, 4 we added. Revenue growth, keep customers happy. Nisha's got hiring, putting out fires. Okay. Do this for me. Of the things in the wheel plus the ones you had at the bottom, can you put a circle around the 2 or 3 that takes up the improving financial acumen? Interesting. Good one. Can you put a circle around the 2 or 3, either in the pie or below the pie, that takes up the majority of your time? Just circle the 2 or 3 that takes up the majority of your time. Okay. And then once you do that, I'm just going to ask you to pick one, maybe put a star next to it, that you say to yourself, someday I'll get to that. I can see it's part of my role. I just can't seem to ever get there. So you're circling 2 or 3 that take up the majority of your time. And then you're putting a star next to what's one that you say to yourself, someday I'll get to that. Anybody willing to share? I'm going to start with those that take up the majority of your time. Anybody willing to share the 2 or 3 that you pick that take up the majority of your time? If you want to come off of mute, that would be awesome. What are the 2 or 3 that take up the majority of your time?
Process improvements from Nisha.
Process improvements for Nisha. Gotcha. Thank you, Nisha. Anybody else? What's one that you circled that you said, wow, it takes up a good chunk of my time?
It's Jay. It's planning and organization.
Okay, planning and organization. Sean put communicating, planning and organization, controlling operations. Good, thanks, Sean. Anybody else? What's your big 2 or 3?
Chris, putting out fires and generating revenue with handle all the sales reps here in the West Coast on. So
Where are you based at on the West Coast?
Rhino Container Ampac in Chino, California.
Oh, cool. Awesome. Evan said work production, planning and organizing, making process improvements. Fair. So one of the things you find is between the pie pieces plus what we added, it's the old Pareto principle. 20% of the stuff takes 80% of your time, and 80% of the stuff takes 20% of your time. What are those things that you circle are probably the critical few, right? The next thing though is, what's the one that anybody willing to share, what's the one you say to yourself, someday I'll get to that. I really mean to. Anybody willing to share what's one that you said the one that you started, you say, someday I'll get to that. I just can't seem to get there. What'd you pick?
This is Fong. I pick making process improvements.
Why'd you pick that one, Fong?
You know, there's some stuff that we as a team want to make changes, but we're just so busy every day, and making some of these improvements or changes, it just hasn't happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah. Thanks, Fong. Anybody else? What's the one that you started? You said someday I'll get to that. Okay. Typically number one, believe it or not, is making process improvements. And I think it's just mainly because it takes quite a bit of time, you know. But if nothing else, just kind of thinking through that concept of, you know, what are my critical few? What are my critical few? And what's the one thing? And if it's something that you know you need to get to, but you haven't, maybe thinking about it, is it something I need to schedule? Is it something I need to put out on my calendar just to make sure that I can get to it? Just something to share there. That again is on 3.3. Do me a favor, go to 3-4. On 3.4, you've got something that sort of looks like this. I'm hoping. You may have to flip your book sideways to get this, or flip your handout sideways. Once you do that, on 3.4, if you're looking at it, the bottom of the page says supervisory time utilization. From those words, I'm going to ask you to draw an arrow straight up through the white part of that picture in your book, if that makes sense. Okay. So one of the things you'll notice on 3.4 is when you first start out, you'll find that first tier is working supervisor, for example, depending on how you title. 80% of your time is on operational tasks. 10 is on personnel, process, those sorts of things. As you move up, as you move into different layers, you find that maybe it's less of the operational and more of the process, personnel, strategy, those sorts of things, potentially. As you move to those next layers, you'll find that, you know, you've got to take the time and spend the time to focus on those things, to get to that next rung. Okay. And just a picture, just something to think about. Okay. As you go through. Let's go from there. If you would look at 3.5 and 3.6, kind of high level. Here's what I want to do. Let me open this up for you. We're kind of pivoting in the curriculum to thinking about what others expect from us as leaders. Okay. And there are 4 different pieces of this. There is, what does your boss have the right to expect from you? See where it says blue and management's expectations. What does your boss have the right to expect from you? The green is, what do folks that report to you have the right to expect from you? The yellow is things we need to avoid, things we need to avoid. So these, I kind of call this the thou shalt not, things that leaders should never do. And then the last one is best practices. And we'll deal with that one separately. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to leave you in the groups you were in before. We have 9 groups, and I'm going to give you one of the first 3, and I'm just going to put you in group and brainstorm 4 or 5 ideas for that. So I'm going to start with this. For room one is, it's got Danielle, Sean, and I believe it's Seaside Al. Can you do me a favor, and what are 3 or 4 things that your boss has the right to expect from you? Room 2 is the Brittany room. I'm going to have you write down 4 or 5 things. What are 4 or 5 things that folks that report to you have the right to expect from you? Team 3 is the Anne Marie team. What are 3 or 4 things that a boss should never do? Okay. An example might be demeaning an employee in front of others. Okay. 4 is the Evan team, and I'm going back up to the blue. What are 3 or 4 things that a boss has the right to expect from you? Team 5, the Elizabeth team, just grabbing one person. What's one thing your employees have the right to expect? Team 6, the Corey team, that's the things to avoid. So I'm just giving you one of the 3. We'll deal best practices together. 7 is the Doug team. That is things your boss has the right to expect from you. Team 8 is the Kyle team, and that's going to be things that your employees have the right to expect. And then 9 is the Donna team, and that's thou shalt nots. So whichever one you had, there's a place on 3.5 and 3.6 to take notes. So if you just want to jot somebody, if you're the blue, it's going to be on the top of 3.5. If you're the green, it's the bottom of 3.5. If you're the yellow, the things to avoid, it's the top of 3.6. So you're just jotting down 4 or 5 things. We'll come back and talk about it, debrief it, and we'll go from there. I'm going to give you 3 or 4 minutes and we'll come back. Okay. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and send you to your groups, and we'll be right back. Thanks, everybody. All righty. Well, welcome back, everyone. So I'm going to do this. I think it was group 1, group 4, and group 7 had things that your boss has the right to expect from you as a leader. Okay. Would anybody in group 1, which was, I'm going to just call, to keep it simple, the Danielle group, anything that you came up with that your boss has a right to expect from you, what'd you come up with?
Hey, Scott, it's Danielle. So we started with expectation of output, productivity, and results in whether it's through the department you're leading or through yourself and reporting to them. And then revenue growth, that's similar for some of us on the team. Open communication and transparency with what's going on within your department and with your team. Proper delegation of any initiatives or tasks that come down. And alongside that, prioritization of those tasks. And then from a behavioral standpoint, a positive attitude, or coming to them when we need that uplift to maintain that positive attitude. It's always nice to have an outlet. And then the last one was seeing growth within that team or department that you manage.
Good. Thank you. Good stuff. Team 4 was the Evan Pope group. Anything that you would add, things that your boss has the right to expect from you?
Yeah, this is Evan. A couple of other things we had was a boss should expect you to try to tackle a problem yourself first before raising a fire alarm or coming to them. One more on the production side would be to always use safe practices. Excuse me. And then also there's an expectation to develop new skills whenever the role or the job calls for it.
Nice. Good. Thank you. And then I had, would that be group 7, which was the Nisha group. What did you all come up with?
We're group 6.
Oh, your group. Oh, yes, you are. So 7 is the Leah Vivian group. What did you all come up with? Oh, anything at all?
You're talking about Leah and Vivian, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we have to say, this is Vivian. We have to say that Daniel's list is pretty comprehensive and covers most of it. And I guess for us, meeting deadlines is just one thing we can add to it.
Thank you. Deadlines. Perfect. Do me a favor, if everyone goes, if you would go to page in your book 3.7. On 3.7, we're just going to kind of consolidate. I've got a few there. Yours are better than mine are, I'll tell you that right now. So in addition to the 4 that I've got, produce, improve ongoing operational results. Again, these are things that our boss has a right to expect from us. Keep us informed, take initiative, handle decisions, problems at the lowest possible level, demonstrate leadership. You also have between those 3 groups, output and production, revenue. So you may want to put these at the bottom of 3.7, open communication. I love the idea of delegation. Using the entire team to get things done. Setting priorities. Being positive. We had a bunch. Being positive. Showing growth is good. Trying to solve the problem first. Focusing on safety. You had new skills and deadlines. You had a ton of stuff. As you look at that, that's a lot of stuff. A number of things your boss has a right to expect from you. On mine, number 2, keep us informed of things we want to know. What does your boss want to know from you? What does your boss want you to keep to be kept in the loop about? What do they want to hear from you? Any thoughts on that? Issues that directly impact the business, good. Pain points and struggles. Yeah. Early on in my career, when I became a leader, I was really struggling with this piece, and I was trying to figure out what is it exactly that my boss wants to hear from me. And I thought, well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to CC my boss in every single email that I get, and that way he's in the loop. And so I'd go in and my boss says, if you don't stop doing that, I'm going to really lose my mind. I don't need to hear everything. And I said, well, what do you want to know? And he said, challenges with the team, project progress, a lot of the things that were mentioned here, any pain points and struggles. And then this is what he said. He said, I like surprises at Christmas and birthdays. And that's about it. He said, when I walk in a meeting, if it's something related to your team and events impacting the customer, I don't want to be blindsided. Look at all the things that are mentioned there. Solutions for any issues, market changes, increase, decrease, things with a potential impact that they don't want to hear later from someone else. Absolutely. And I'm not going to hit all of these. That third one, take initiative and handle decisions, problems at the lowest possible level. What does that mean exactly? What does that mean? If you want to come off mute or put that in the chat function. What does that mean exactly? Any thoughts on that? Don't escalate if it's not needed. Yeah, I think it's a great point. So while we're doing this, my wife's a kindergarten teacher. She's been a kindergarten teacher for 25 years. And last year she had a first grade teacher next door had never taught before. And the first grade teacher was really struggling with classroom management. And every time there was an issue, the teacher would send the student straight to the principal's office. And at some point, my wife, Robin, said, hey, listen, if you can handle it in the classroom, do that first. But if you've got to move from there, that's fine. But always try to handle it first. And I think that's true with our leaders too. If you can handle it, do it. If you've got to get someone else involved, that's fine too. Address the opportunity well, it's minimal impact before it becomes a major problem. Let's suppose I have an issue on my team and I fix it. I resolve it myself. Do I still need to let my supervisor know? Or no? What do you think? I have a challenge, something related to my team. I fix it. Does my boss need to know? Ooh, I've gotten multiple yeses. Whoa. And I got next one-to-one. Yeah. You know, I think it depends. I think it depends. I mean, it never hurts to say, listen, I had this challenge. I fixed it. I just wanted to keep you in the loop. I'm always about, yes, but having solutions before you present them. Yeah. Had this challenge. This is what I did. These are the steps I took. Just wanted to keep you in the loop. Jennifer, if it goes sideways, they need to know what steps have been taken. Okay. So that's the first piece I wanted to hit you with. That's on 3.7. 3.8. It's just this talking about a mindset shift. Let me open this up. As you look to the left on 3.8, it's kind of the old mindset, supervisor mindset to the now supervisory mindset. If you focus on the right, more participative, collaborative supervisor-employee relationships, strategic and process focus, guiding and facilitating, sharing authority and decision-making with employees, being proactive, ultimately be accountable. As you look at those things on the right, the now boxes, why are those things the case? Why are those things happening now? What's driving these shifts? What do you think? What are driving these shifts? Okay. Danielle says generational change expectations. Okay. Anything else? What do you think's causing that change? I do think part of it is just technology. I think that's true too. I think the idea that folks want to feel valued at work, lots of great ideas, engaging employees Yeah, Sean, I love that roles become larger with more responsibilities, competitive offers. We don't want to lose our rock stars, right? Absolutely true. So I just wanted to kind of point that out, that moving to the right, you probably are seeing that yourselves on 3.8. The last thing I wanted to hit, at least for now, and we'll come back, empowering. It's important to empower your employees. Go to 3.9. Go to 3.9. On 3.9, it says aligning yourself with the boss. I'm just going to give you a few minutes. We're going to focus on 3.9 only for now. I'm just going to add, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 questions. I want you to see if you could, how much of 3.9 you can fill out. These are questions about your boss. I'm just going to give you, just focus on 3.9 for now, 4 or 5 minutes, and then we'll come back. Okay. So I'm going to go silent. We'll be right back. Thanks, everybody. What you do is on 3.9, it's just kind of the first page. There's actually the first of 2. Some questions to think about when it comes to yourself and your boss. And I just was having you take a little bit of time, get some answers down. How many of you were able to answer on some level all 5? Just if you just put in yeah, just give me a Y. Yes. You had some answered all 5. Wow, good. Excellent. If you didn't, one of the challenges what I really like about this page and 3.10, which we'll come back to next time, is you can fill this out. You can sit down with your boss, and if you're willing to walk through and say, hey, listen, I did this class and I want to make sure that I'm aligned with you and we're on the same page. This is kind of what I see. Is this so? Okay. If there's one that you missed or you weren't clear on, for example, it's the 3rd one. And I got to tell you, Joe, I got to tell you, Margaret, one of the questions on this survey was what are your current priorities? I wasn't really clear on that. I mean, I have some sense, but I don't really. So, Joe or Margaret, can you tell me what are your priorities? What are your top 3 right now? It's a really good way. It asks some really tough questions, frankly. Okay. So I just wanted to show that to you. And a challenge for you, kind of a takeaway from you, if you're willing to, for 3.9, take this, sit down with your boss. I'm going to go ahead and just point over to, just because we're a little short on time today. If you want to look at the 4 on 3.10, you could take a shot at those, and you could take 3.9 and 3.10 together, sit down with your boss, and just see if you're on the same page. Just a great way to make sure that you're aligned. Okay. Just wanted to get that to you. Hope that's helpful. Okay. We're going to stop there. We're going to stop at 3.10. So if you want to put a little tab or something, I'm going to put a little tab there. We didn't get to the other 2 groups. We'll get there next time. We've got a lot more to cover in this. So just so you know, there won't be a new section coming to you for the next time, which I believe is in 2 weeks. Just bring this back and we'll keep moving through it. Okay. So just want to do that. We'll, like we always do, we'll do a quick review about what we covered today, and then we'll move from there. So any questions before I turn you loose? We've got about 3 or 4 minutes, but it's a good place, I think, to kind of stop. Any questions you've got? Awesome. Thanks, Danielle. Hope you're enjoying it. I really, really appreciate your engagement. Okay. But if not, I'm going to go ahead and turn you loose on a Thursday. I will talk to you. I think it's in 2 weeks. Thanks, everybody. Have a good rest of your day. Thanks, everybody.